episode for higher GC News. Mima Obibia Akwaba had the latest hot enamede Bramo. And unti so you subscribe to channel idea, Bomodia say over subscribe. The way I say over click the subscribe button, you know. Now what barely notification. We have a video for be upload when the first person wants a ebeka a video. Afi we are now what like video no give us a thumbs up now fi share my for so that when you be here now we and somewhere also Ghana memo hadum. Afi yimbura ye semwa abeto yapono so yinkuti sa report ya ababetu ya mama yiti sansemu.
Ona budi ni na mama anaye. Family na mama. Ina mama. Dawo. Honorable. Honorable. $2. That was Sammy Gyamfi. Yes. Who say woman? Cries. Monday. Mommy, our house. Honorable. Ona budi ni na mama anaye. Family na mama. Ina mama. Dawo. Honorable. $2. That was Sammy Gyamfi. Yes. Who say woman? Cries. Monday. Mommy, our house.
For their cooperation, collaboration, and participating in the public discourse. We are very excited at the new chapter that we have all ushered in, new chapter of real democracy where, you know, the public discourse is encouraged and citizens are encouraged to truly participate in these vital conversations that, you know, elicit sometimes great solutions. And so we are very happy that many Ghanaians, including the opposition New Patriotic Party, has taken the invitation of His Excellency to feel free to express themselves. Whatever legal vehicle is available to them, and that includes protestations. Yeah. And so we have seen them already, you know, conduct 2 protestations to test, you know, the commitment of His Excellency to this new era of freedoms on the side of citizens. And so we are happy about also the feedback we have received after His Excellency presented to the people of Ghana, in whom sovereignty really, you know, resides, his social contract. He was not obliged to. It was a commitment he made upon himself to serve him well in terms of the urgency he himself was bringing to the new, you know, to the task of the presidency, and also to prove to the people of Ghana that when we came to them and we called on them to vote for experience over experiment, this is really what we meant. We meant that there's going to be a new era informed largely by lessons learned from the previous experience, and that deep knowledge about how the system works and where the leakages were and what right sets of approaches should be is what informed even our manifesto, which was really resetting Ghana for jobs, accountability, and prosperity. So if you look at the 120-day promises, it focuses on our key priority areas that we believed if we were quickly able to put the strong and the right foundations in, the reset agenda will well be on course. And I'm really happy at the feedback from all well-meaning and fair-minded Ghanaians that indeed we have shown some real progress, and really what we are expecting from now on is a further consolidation of the gains And
in fact, that's the purpose of this conversation.
Yes.
So that, I mean, you speak for the government as well, so you can also give us some insight. But
Definitely.
we need to get the conversation going.
Yes.
I was asking about your reflections
and it's part of the Sammy Gyamfi matter.
Yes.
It's part of, I think that for everybody, self-awareness is very important. And I think one of the values of great leadership is self-awareness. Self-awareness to be able to look back at an action of yours, whether it's a private action that has become a public matter, in the case of this Sammy Gyamfi issue, to be able to have the presence of mind to recognize where the indiscretion might have occurred, and to, without any prompting, come out to acknowledge the mistake that may have been made, the optics of a private moment now played out, in the public for everyone to see and have opinions about reasonably. What we would want to say is that as a government, the Chief of Staff has since invited Sammy Gyamfi to come and speak to this matter. And so the Chief of Staff
when
in the Office of the Presidency. Pardon?
When exactly is Sammy showing up?
Oh, I'm sure today it's an urgent matter. So
I'm just asking because you walk the corridors of power, so you would know when.
This happened over the weekend, as you know. So the invitation has gone to Sammy to show up, and because of the respect he has to the office, sure that he will be showing up today. But also to add to the fact that it comes at the back of the launch of a new code of conduct. And
yes.
If you look at the code of conduct, there are a number of sanctions for whatever identified acts of indiscretion or wrongdoing. It ranges from an apology, a public apology for that maybe stated misbehavior or misconduct, to a formal reprimand, which we know that the apology has already even come without the prompting of anyone. An invitation has come, so if a reprimand is in order, I'm sure that we would hear what what decision government will take. It also even includes resignation or suspension, and then ultimately when the conduct is of very severe nature, sometimes even bordering on criminality, you may be asked to go through termination.
Okay.
And so there are lessons for all of us public office holders in how we balance the public expectation of good. And this was one of the reasons why on your similar platform, when the issue of the value of gifts receiving, and again, the feedback we are getting. So in our code of conduct, it is mostly about receiving gifts. Okay. And where the conversation is about gift giving, it's around the issue of hampers. So this time we need to go back again and have a conversation about gift giving from you, the public office holder, and what the parameters of, being generous and, responding to. Look, when we go to places, your cars are swarmed by people asking for all kinds of things. And so when I said somewhere else that in a day, the expenses, and you people have done these democracy watch activities over years. And I've said that beyond having deeper conversations about political party financing and campaign financing, we must have an open, transparent conversation about governance financing, because once somebody transcends into public office, there is a lot of expectation to solve not only the long-term problem, but the immediate needs of people. And that
in this
cannot be described as being insensitive, because to not respond to these demands would rather present you as being non-responsive to the needs of the people that you say that you serve.
Okay.
So let us learn the lessons as public officers and see if we can find a balance between what the public itself expects from us. I think largely in some cases, it is the recipient. It's the recipient of that gift that has created this brouhaha.
We'll talk about the fight against corruption as a declaration, code of conduct, like you mentioned, and the 24-hour economy and the issues of unemployment. But Doc, brief take on this matter before we get into the topic of corruption.
So I've always said that our public officials always have to pass two tests, what I call the legal test and the appearance test. They tend to do well on the legal test, right? Anytime an issue erupts, you are first pointed to the law. Did he or she do anything wrong? Has he or she broken any law? what gets them into some of these unfortunate situations is the appearance test. And when you're in public office, you have to even pay more attention to the way things look, because that is where you even end up losing a lot more goodwill and trust. So my thing is, I'm glad that the Chief of Staff has summoned him. I'm glad that he apologized. There's a code of conduct in place. Whatever the appropriate sanctions are, I just hope that the President will demonstrate swiftness in dealing with this in terms of applying the appropriate sanction, so that at least he can show that, look, this code of conduct that we have instituted, it's a policy that we intend to reinforce. And it's a lesson to all current public officials as well, right? That nobody is against you being generous, but you also have to put it within the right context and know that it can have certain unintended consequences.
You speak of appropriate sanctions. What would be appropriate from where you sit?
Appropriate, at most, suspension.
At most?
Yes. I would. Yes, at most.
At most?
Yes.
Worst case scenario?
Worst case scenario, yes.
So those who are saying he should be sacked and the rest, what do you say to them?
No, and in fact, to quickly also revisit the code of conduct, I think one of the things the code of conduct needs to do now is the last section on measures of violation. I think it needs a lot more clarity and specificity around things like first offense, appropriate sanction, even depending on the type of offense. So, for example, if you improperly file a government document, right, do you get the same sanction versus if you engage in an act of corruption or a conflict of interest? Do you see what I'm saying? You need a lot more clarity so that, it's like one strike, this is the appropriate penalty, two strikes, this is the appropriate penalty, in this area, this is the appropriate penalty. But I wouldn't go that extreme of...
But I think even with the code of conduct, there's, there are certain steps, a reprimand, and then certain things follow to the point where there could be a resignation and a termination. And just because you mentioned the code of conduct. Right. If you asked me, I was disappointed. Over the weekend, a lot of people, passed comments on that, and I feel quite a bit of them justified. Yes, he did the right thing by apologizing. Yes, it's another right step for the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah, to invite him, give him the summons, but I feel that was poor judgment. It's not to say that we understand the cultural aspect of it and how some things happen. But I keep saying it was clear, there were phones, cameras. It was obvious that this was maybe it should have been taken care of in that light. But anyway, those are my quick thoughts. Shamima, so you've given some confirmation on the invitation and that. You don't know what it will entail, though?
No.
You don't know?
Yeah.
Okay. How seriously is government taking this?
Every action, however minor or major, is taken seriously by government, as we should, because, again, one of the greatest tests of this administration would be its congruence to its stated values. And it is fair that if we set a high standard for ourselves, that Ghanaians would want to hold us to those standards, especially when we had seen really eroded standards in governance over the years. And so when you hear people recognize the progress we are making in our attempts to sanitize our governance, we know that to whom much is expected, given much is expected, even if we have brought it upon ourselves. Because again, we can't lament about deteriorating governance standards and do nothing about it. So, for example, Dr. Akwete was on Joy this weekend, and he did acknowledge the fact that since the Fourth Republic, we have never seen any sanction at all made against any public officer for breaching, say, the asset declaration regime. And that even though none of the appointees have actually breached the enabling law, which gives them at least 6 months, up to 6 months, to file their asset declaration forms. His Excellency, because of the agency with which he needed all appointees to be aligned to his values of prudence and respect for our rules is the one that gave us the deadline of 31st of March. And because people breached it, on the day that he actually launched the code of conduct was the day, as you have said, that we need to give examples that we mean business. This second action regarding Sammy Gyamfi is not the first. The first major test was on the day of the launch when the president announced sanctions to appointees who missed the 31st deadline, even though they had not missed the constitutional expectation of a 6-month, period.
Right. And
what was the sanction? It is quite severe. 3 months forfeiture of salary is quite severe as a first indication of seriousness to the ideals of these new resets agenda that His Excellency, has communicated to the people of Ghana. And so there is that goodwill on the side of His Excellency. What I also want to say is that we should encourage more transparency and more honesty on the side of, public office holders. I have found in my attempt to be sometimes open and honest about these matters that are vexed matters, for long periods of time, and to also communicate that even as we put these programs and plans in place, there will be room for improvement because we can't have a perfect, guideline. Just as we even do not have a perfect constitution. 32 years on, a constitution review committee is hard at work to look at the errors. So once there is that communication of goodwill, let us all come together. And that's why His Excellency said, let us join hands. Right. Because the task of resetting this nation is not only a work that can be done by political leaders. It must be
done by all of us. I just have a quick follow-up. We must move the conversation forward. The President gave a deadline, which was last Wednesday, for the declaration of assets, lest you could lose your job.
Yes.
What's the latest on that? Does it mean all of the government's appointees per the law have filed their asset declaration?
They should have. They should have.
Like, you don't know for certain?
I don't know for certain because we need to find out from the office of the Chief of Staff per the reports that he'll be getting from the Auditor General, who has since complied with the extended deadline, and also to indicate that that deadline is for all those who had been appointed up to the 31st of March. Because new appointments are being made.
So short deadline, long deadline.
Even as we build. The point of the matter is for the new appointees, they know not to dilly-dally with the filing of their asset declaration. But there will be a reasonable expectation. And
so if we find out that some people have not declared as of today, what happens?
They should face what the President said they would, a sack is what they would face if indeed by the extended deadline they did not file, which was last Wednesday.
Sammy, ye na ya abunofo. Nanso eba manual sem ye o man ni ya edu baby o say odi baby ofi no to nchen na ye wai kura ni de we tare so sem man pani ba ye o say ade ba ko de bo Ghana fo ni say on pese na ba mu fo ebe kire so o ma be ye yie na wo ye list obeyi wadi na Sammy boss abrabo we o say sa asama mampani ka ye na ye de ebe ye adwuma na sa danko dada dua magana fo waju so we mu do me discipline na so na enya sa na tie o mo kure di chen o mo betwa mu ko ye no
o chobi ade asa problem bi ani ye ti ye nyina ye gift ni me se me ti we Sammy Gyamfi anse nyame adom na wabapa we di asande na akoto gold board da me hia me tutu di bottom me kan bag ni me ameye no me de me
tutu bottom ni
me de me public oni hia no kwa dia nanso me jisika o Sammy Gyamfi ho a me nia no me ne na wa adwuma mu ye te ho ase ye wonkomo ayebo enye ono pe me hia me nia no NDC fo a Peter say na me de sabe hia di bottom meyi of the came to me the message bottom minim say woni abem so da me ho be kire me no
break
na problem aba ne na ye nyina ye nya Sammy Gyamfi a ye kana sem na ye 2 1 me se me de message be hye ni bottom me ma ye so camera nsi me so e ma me ma e fa me nsa nko hye ni bottom
emewie meye TikTok live
en sign fa camera nsi me so e na me share Sammy Gyamfi magidi sika maje dollar me nye ene na me sure say President Mahama e ka ho asem wonti me nka sem obi nchi obi ade adan krom ha I mean
obi ni mo bi no bi so abua obi pen will be pain.
Enti ya me Agradaa yi. Unim kra Sammy kra ni previous relationship
Agradaa so live me hwe no. Also wonim no da. Apart from TV so no ohia no da.
Wonim obi anim situation no. Ne ama na aya asama aye be kana meka na emienu. Number 1, say aye no publicly. Aso camera esi so eye dede ehye nkrofo abufu.
Yeah.
Hwe yan politics ya ye. Obi a won level of politics nim. Ope wo mpe no kwebu ha se ka kire wo. Obi wo ha politics na wa ba se wo ye no. Oba se ono no obe na ye friend cheerleader. Obi wo ho nya na dwen so pe post bi. Politics na ye ne fe. O man no enhyehyɛ ye no na ni je ho na o se me join NDC me join MPP me join pacho de say union government. Enti ono no onye na dwen so be for position bi o. Enti mo kwa na odi machi mudu kro bi so a ono na be ye unsa nkrofo no wo ho.
Sure.
And ye wo mo so so ono friend who grassroots say this party asamo amma obehwile agina mu. And ye wo mo so say yan ma ye kasama party. Ye mu bitimi call for elections. Obi so ho ye na just make kasama party all my life. Untimi hye no. Asan ye wo mo ko into governance, mo ko into party politics full time. Many are to us Sammy Gyamfi 8 years ago. In 3 more tria ye no ti kurum ha. Obi anu kurum ha na semba Sammy won ka bi. Wow mama Cecilia dapaah semba ye. Anti Cecilia semba ye se yakomu sika woni fie. Ne Sammy ka wo kurum ha wo ho. Me se wo ti videos bi na wo yem de show. Asim se mama Cecilia dapaah wo brada wo kurum ha. O friend no kurumfo. O ka se we wi ani ega na sika. Make OSP acquire investigations at Bessin ye intimi fire mammy Cecilia the pan to Musu we are gonna sika. Samati I am mammy. I no moment examples were Halana we are no mum. Yes. Examples were where it say and send be by ye katakata so. Ye public. Ya mammy Cecilia the pan for be bending a consent for we are no crime can say so your report. If you saw a public official. And my public we penny wo krum ha wasam timi ya no
interest
onu apeni sika egu ho onu ne kunu onim ye mami Cecilia the pa kunu ne architect o ye ne omusika onwa omo crime so mo sika na nto bank no mo de ato mu dem. Some examples we nyina wo ho ma wo sami wo ka bi 4 months down the line mark your campaign mo wini we officer or party who your communications officer some friend officer communications officer ni pay di wachi ni pay ye adwuma ma ni pay ni wo ye adwuma omo nyina se o settle omo omo ahe na wa mo dollar.
That's the question.
Na wa mama mi a wo so onim wo onsi awoda wan ye campaign amamo onka mo ho. Mama mi etimi ahwe awurade anim Sammy ntimi nka nkyem se no onim se camera si ni so because we see video na ma me ne kan o se me dem ma yentwa photo no ni gina ho twa photo me dem me record you enti hwi an click was Sammy tirim se ade yi mama mi ntina kai
settings betimi abem
settings be possible because ma me na adwen pa woni tirim an ko ji sika nko betwam
no kita bag Obadiah, ura baby no be mausika quickly. Now would you say yet me cry the say ha. Now could drew baby any penny.
Eti camera ni no di na chi o de kire car ni mu. Etwa car ni interior. Etwa bag na na Sammy sika free. Mono. San krofo ni nyese nka ni nyina click wo mini aketo adwum sa. Ade nkrofo set me up. Ni nyina bra re fiye. Brother Afenyo. Ye kasen, ya si chief of staff afre no.
Ya so no anka
apology ni dear sister. Apology dey sanka nyina timi pacho. Obi ayo bonu timi pacho. Ne ha me ne se wan hwe ye ne ba be escape boat. If you say barely 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago abeso. Mahama ye mu code of conduct last week. Enti me no what the Mahama share in a very tight position. And say wo Sammy obi a Ghana ha nim say Mahama you are one of his favorite people. And now we need the favorite because he said we your favorite keke. Why you mama?
And even worked with Ibrahim.
Auntie me fan near why ye. One funny when you went free where me I must say my ready. By next week yaba. na yewura Mahama enyi Sammy Gyamfi adia me se me ni wo bi kan if he say the first time ababa wa bi no a deputy minister your friend Victoria Hammer Vicky dia wan kwa chesika o dollar no kura no nkura bi enkomo no ko boy say onya $1 million na wa jai politics na wa bre asama Vicky ka ya no ade anchi ye yi Vicky yedi and Victoria Hammer has never recovered from that incident. And to want to mean can't me saying your first time now was say I'm na fe na wa ba na fe na wo hye wo de ba. What to me Victoria Hammer for just saying. Now Sammy Gyamfi on your dollar no wanya bi. In the last 4 months Sammy atumi anya dollars. I go the bag him. Esi ni kem e yi cha Agradaa. Ono de on ka hwe nkyere no. Yero Mahama ne nka ye ni wo bi ka. Enti Sammy ha no ho. Wa ma Agradaa setting up. Enya no. Aha ne nkrofo aha yewura Mahama. Because yeah MPP for there no kura ni nyame no. Asemi ba weekend yi. Wo dem nko social media MPP for nhyɛ dan kasa ho bebere saa o. Eye Mahama beye. Fo no omubufu afu no NDC grassroots bufu afu no. No mo deserve so omubu befu. Medase. Ebi se ye nyina na yete ha ye nyina na yakoye adwuma fe na adwuma ne ye eche. Peter enya ne di asami wonya wo di ebi no so bi eba ye eche ko. Na wo di wati enya sika eche na oblim se nkofo no kwa hwenye sika no honye mabufu se nipa na odem ne ma na. Antawa medase. Enti ya na ha na ye etwe wo so wa frɛ no by the end of today say decision ba. Sami tina mo ana okɔ. Unu ebe ma wo. Medium by Ellen Amadaku, MPP National Communications Team member. Odike, code of conduct, Kennedy Agyapong, so they start make a usha. I hear did I scapegoats? I didn't scapegoats, I would deserve it. You're a mama. A mama from Pushu, Sammy Bonibia. You're a mama. Me Victoria Hammond, you say, Namani Hammond, Hammer. Crown Fast lady no. Me anyame de o se da menya $1 million major politics say obi na de be che no say obe conjure magic wine o media so ka say menya $1 million free politics mu a major ya and the nanka Sammy Gyamfi bani bia o na Domama you president who code of conduct no wo say and I don't read this Yura Ufusukwachi. Threshold near give to bet with their movie and I'll be between their bet me bet margin 20,000 cedis. $1,000 for the Agradaa is 800 is what am I pacho? Oh, now Agradaa etna live
no, that's a fake video. On one case and a live video now I hear when I saw it. Was it $800?
And a video no say na ye kan you.
All kind be brebe no pacho. Why yen a live e wa sorry.
Oh, me pacho.
Me ba no. I'm making a point. I'm
say 10,000.
Oh, me pacho.
The figure now is 800.
Now go board Sammy Gyamfi no. I know Biala Betchans and the power of so many ska. The Ghana folk Kennedy Agyapong, Hoyani and Libre. Sammy Gyamfi man, you're different in someone. Me would declare for money. But the bottom line is a boy in your Bonivia. No one know my Yasabo bonds are between Kwaku bonds 50,000. Or because sorry, David to me is car. I'm a fake pastor. 100,000. More and more can politicians are more casano. More high, and also on your donation, Maubida. Sammy Gyamfi Bonibia. Sammy opposition, no, no, to me to take the other call about could do holidays. Now, the politicians also are poor. And I'm one, you're a mama who code of conduct, no. And no just say, what point is, no, or more, Ato also dress no or the or yen who yen any class way. They didn't know Edma. I did Bentina or Edma. Me pacho, Gabby, what can I say? No, oh, Gabby, no, yeah, Gabby lawyer your friend is saying no one can post sister Akufo Addo obi anim Sammy Gyamfi onya bone full soldiers munya botrema Sammy Gyamfi if it is say mumusika eba mo ho eba de o say Sammy Gyamfi odina bra boy obetimi de aye your mama say we who my pressure ekrofo yes no ama o kase Sammy Gyamfi court suspension kra na say you are not on top of your job now unim nya wo ye because at the end of the day no Ghana ha obi adan obi your mama o drink kan jame me say unche obi skada say in public or at the
confidential
not you say wama code of conduct okay president say mention to mago no be anu say be here ni ene de masesa no me de cross border nam de akoto Ivory Coast ana otchere na aba ni gu a makofa bisika eno na ayere look ewiase me makosi ade bisika twa matna se ahwe Agradaaa so ena wo se gift no nya no kotwa gifters Agradaaa ono no so okodi krecha ban se yewra Sammy Gyamfi achim ska we it mba be twa tax na dia dance yes ampa ska no de man Sammy Gyamfi opposition me Sammy Gyamfi me ne Kojo bonsu sabra no any PR okay me kumase now you su Mercedes Benz 4x4 e kumase sabra Kojo bonsu bubu me property kura gu ye no Sammy Gyamfi na defend Kojo bonsu misu ewo meyem ba issue na beda ho no Sammy Gyamfi nya boni bia ati say yewra mama so mpe corruption eti yenkobo na senwem no there is nothing like corruption in this matter mumye timupa etete corruption no ana timupa etete o janka una Agradaaa besri niska
sure
unbeknownst to him no one so be record no now me pa chonya botre ole nya botre so wa record no wa any life was can no be adia why no since ka was Sammy Gyamfi wa ayira
so ya na Ghana for bi nso bisa say ma Cecilia dapaah why sika na
me pa cho munya botre pa ma me enu tira Cecilia dapaah ma mi ama ka say today yemfa kwadu bia mo no enya sa oh me pa cho so jamre anim na so say public court of opinion kasa Sammy Gyamfi ya boni bia Sammy didi yero mama you Sammy Gyamfi dia me organize demonstration against you are not habit for your job because and say dia ma omuso muni so no Sammy Gyamfi on cross threshold no $800 or $1,000 whatever what they call cities now is about 13,000
yeah 13.5 10,800
now more politicians are more bon sankes now no Bawumia Kumase one could 2 billion so de bois woman dash woman stores obia I say odin sky me feel say and this Sammy Gyamfi adwuma o ye no number bia okay we dey Ghana for mo am pese mo pian koto amene mu no anya sa na asabete da mo ya na ye fu soja ene e ba ye nyanwe hey wona aso be fu soja aya wo twice ana aso be fu soja no awon ka twa de bra mo Sammy Gyamfi onu na nisika no me se ska we enya sa ban we ba nya wanya Sammy Gyamfi odi ni kui dada mo man ka no kura nkyere ye ho me mpani pa ase sunfumi gum Sammy Gyamfi nya nu ene mne bo kasa ase ene yenko bona senwem yewra mama we Sammy Gyamfi adia ye be demonstration tell because
ana manye demonstration Vicky Hamadi no
why
Victor Hamadi ana manye
na me bonus so
oyo ben
me ba ana me pesa me ba nya botre me ba o gabi me call radio ko kan say yewra mama what people won we yewra na di because ran wa jaboni
Victor Hamadi yo ben Sammy Gyamfi e ba me bo me
no ye mani ntoso me na say public ni pia yewra mama na Udiso, there be Yamanya Zombi president. Sammy Gyamfi.
Victoria Hama, sorry.
Presidency in T and to the be a man common yet the DSC paying from NDC Nakasatam MPP and then Nebia Bama for any Biamdia Fanto.
Victoria Hama, sorry.
Peter.
Oyama. Mo fa ko ni mo tapa kwasi ase. O se ordino. Hey. Yasinya asamhwe.
Aye. Hona be who ado.
Awerho.
Aye.
You see a product like Sammy Gyamfi. Eya adea MPP, NDC, all the political device. He is a political pillar to lead the younger generation.
Sure.
Sammy Gyamfi is a political pillar to lead the younger generation, irrespective of your political device. He's an inspiration. Enti asembiaba na ye betwe abo so. Hey, Honoman say ye nyina di among for first bullet. Hey! Krom hapa. Ordino. Hey, Tio. O ko presi yenyi obi adia.
Vicky di onye nipa.
Sammy Gyamfi.
Ale Sammy onye nipa.
The youth in the party.
Ayo.
The young ones in the party. Yeka obi oye strong advocacy and the voice for the grassroots in the party, in the government. Sammy Gyamfi, someone who is strongly pushing for the grassroots people. More type oh baby no. You push mono. Sammy Gyamfi is our voice at the top. Minia ele etra kase. Ono de and that is how I will do it. Yes, me a meti hey. Meti me coach na me poncho. Amafo begu me ka hone ade adam. Enye easy. All the political figures obia. Ana Ellen kra kase ono wo hia samia eden agini bi pen. Enti entele kwan no. Yana obeje. Hey, that is how we do things. Enti wa hia samme na waje. Ena wona obi gira nchen twa camera. Eni ese wa mo Ellen sika o me kasa. O so me amade me ba. Oh, Samia Ellen sika. You can picture enti enyi Sammy Gyamfi adi. How would you feel me say me nua ba le en reflect this ade ne keke. Me. Asem na meka. So what you Sammy Gyamfi na what sika. Na obi aka be lende ko bi aka say. Me NDC na what you kasa is for all the message. Ko for no kura bumfu. No, me busa objective questions. Oh, objective. Say me Sammy anya. Our Sam na meka no. We should be honest to ourselves. The only thing is we are in the early stages of the government. Appointment opportunities no so obia who say oh Agradaa number 1 Agradaa Kasetia party no and let's situate the issue. Virtually Sammy Gyamfi was harassed. Political figures who are politicians they make
Agradaa is carrot as one okay. Yes. Or say now Kasetia MPP. Yes. It's no name Sammy Gyamfi man sir. NDC. Sammy Gyamfi Eddie Wu Naba MPP. How do you parliament now?
environment no remember because our environment Sammy Gyamfi Sammy Gyamfi in his nature or you very generous obia obekọ ni nchen bia it is a moment no na on person obe depict say Agradaa asare na de and why then what shooting it off at that moment no so pressure one so o ka say nko so hu say camera nyaba when you welcome na nipa because am afọ ba enti wagi nko dem die na nka e bia nkofo bi oni omonam and nko so mo ye den omo stop esa de no but on no person no and am pressure ba na so na adwe nko so say ye the camera see me so enti ade wo ya me dey mo bi say no mbeye at the end of the day Agradaaa had her way and wadi $800 code of conduct asama ye kan
a minute
many lawyer Sammy Gyamfi ombrichi code of conduct Mr. Ombrichi code of conduct yeah amount for adwen oh many abanya there many amount for adwen say oh who Kwaku so bi sika and Agradaa de nko so hwe and nko so hwe environment ni atade it's a caution. And I was say yeah, dear yen na and you see a movie forward. Sammy Gyamfi ababonte abe patch say oh me conduct say dem see ya then antwe ye Ghana for NDC for me pam chop kwada hu and ade ho no pan kwa hu ya de wo say you don't compare this to Obia $1 million egum passe.
That's it.
Tio, you don't compare this to $1 million egum passe.
That's it.
Because Cecilia, this is the 8 years. So you see the Najuma oye a CEO of a gold board no efo so bia ma ho say oye adwuma a CEO gold board na wakodi sika wo bi ho ye hu bi biasa so no fact no evidence has been established a link to Najuma oye e check and watch obi ade na ebimo eni nye ho enti we should not based on this and say kosakesa me kosakesa me nyavu eva president mama sir chief of staff afrena minim say ombetie na ya question na yensa na odi amaye nyina ya appointees ya kwa ya bay amanfo mo ba ye nchen no you be how to man but me last point to my grassroots members pe pacho NDC grassroots member with the greatest of respect mama MPP for amono mu wiase nyina senka sabio manu da sumira Sammy Gyamfi na kwa NDC for MPP for mbebo mumume na mama MPP for push mo na a product like Sammy Gyamfi you don't grill him like that asam na ba yen nyina wa ba bontia ba be pacho grassroots for mo kama ko wonto yam onya boni ni kwa dodo asame hwe wo mo party mu every day no enya de ba onya
last word Famra Odikenya Butre Yenya the lie Ama your last words 1 minute.
What is good for the goose is also good for the gander. Me say maintain NDC for ase. Someone NDC John Mahama one. O se Vicky Mahama akoka se onya 1 million a obeja adwuma. Na we yinedi. At that time, young lady who looked up to her. Make her age 9 years ago.
Sure.
Vicky is now 44. Subtract that from her age 9 years ago. Now young lady waiting me for elections. Those are not so we should go elections. You know, lose ye. Now you're the deputy minister. So what can some keke? We baba where yeah. Now 8 years, 9 years down the line, the baby bema so Sammy Gyamfi or not dear or near bonnet. And NDC for na man aseme na mo ka kire mo ho. That's it. Vicky Hammer de oyeden. And to send you see the Vicky Hammer no, the same process.
Abaya de ball touch ni bra so yemfa moba. Me da say awadako. Odike 1 minute.
Victoria. Na se me ba me call radio so ka say kwan ayi mama fa so apam lady no.
And the normal appointment is too late.
Me ba o.
Now replace no.
Try ye because lady ni statement no bibia no chese no o wadwenbone so be wi aban o se da obenya sense karo onye politics biem baby be fraba no obi anim eti ase pressure ya de ko Mahama so ompam Sammy Gyamfi no ebia na ko no so a sabio wanya aboto de pam lady no ba ma ni repeat it because Sammy Gyamfi onye eboni bia je tia onye eboni bia no Sammy enko fa obi asika ana mra bia ni ga na extra ko obi fa suspending sika ana emra bia ni ga na extra say unya sika sadi power na so de bi ma no eti fuso yes remo mon kusimu ntuma wa bonten hata Sammy Gyamfi onye eboni bia me pam chaw
me da se ya ka be so
but asem no kwa wo mne say ukole so bi abodo say hia sensuo si ude ho Sammy Gyamfi onye eboni I repeat onye eboni yo bia na be che no ba bi on fa sika nko chief of staff monyo mo ade na mon kwa na muntu ne fo say public lifestyle mumpe fine we agree said ye enkofobi and declare wo mo access a mo second opportunity no Sammy Gyamfi who deserve side
me da say p we there 1 minute less than 1 minute because you odike na na ekasa bom
ye bra Sammy Gyamfi a oda PMM siano a obeye pacho a sisi a abeye gold board no within 4 months wabuama oman no $2.7 billion gold export. This remarkable record we a branch in a juma or yo ebwa oman no eno de ye impresi asem we ya aba wono na akoche obi ade keke na wo be ka say such a product yenko sake na you have been disingenuous and me as a young politician I will never say young push say yen sake Sammy Gyamfi da and the American actually in Penifone say chief of staff for our friend Sammy Gyamfi. It should be a caution. And your foot too. And come say your public engagement as appointees, we should just be guided. But as far as Sammy Gyamfi is concerned, a Juma oil will gold board, no, a son for sono, a worth million than Sadia will come by. Let's look at his work as CEO of Coco Gold Board. Now you're supporting near Nasa Wakwache Obiadienti, where
Peter Meda say, I also the answers.
You're waiting for Winnie and Samoa Babeto, Yaponoso, Mikao say, so we don't subscribe to channel idea, Bomodia say, over subscribe. Now, while I give video, don't give us a thumbs up, now, share my work for Froso. Now, when you be here now, and somewhere Koso, Ewa Ghana memoir. Also bet me atchere wadwen afa ye some way nyina ho e comment box mu obeti me ka bi in my next video.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.